Thank you everyone for attending today's Day in the Life, focusing on digital media and entertainment. My name is Mariana Hernandez. I am the Assistant Program Manager of Workforce Development at LA County's Economic Development Corporation, also known as LAEDC. We're going to go ahead and get started with this webinar. This is being recorded, so please turn your camera off if you prefer not to be recorded. And as you're coming in, please mute yourself and remain muted to respect everyone else. And there will be a portion where you can ask questions, you can unmute then. But for now, we'll go ahead and get started. So I am a part of a team of 3 with Jermaine Hampton as our Senior Director and Jose Pelayo, the Program Manager, who will introduce himself and give you guys some data as well in a few minutes. So Jose, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mariana. Welcome everyone to Digital Media and Entertainment. So before we jump into some presentations, it's always important to understand the industry and know what job openings there are, if the industry is going to grow, as well as the potential earnings. So right here, you can see the average annual pay for the field of entertainment and digital media. This data was covered by our Institute of Applied Economics in our LAEDC Corporation. So as you can see, there is a variety of occupations which all pay over the average amount of annual pay. So there are good opportunities here in digital media entertainment. Mariana, if you can go to the next slide. As well, to the next slide, as mentioned, you want to kind of see where the industry is going to be at in a few years. As you can see, it's going to continue to trend forward and grow. All the way up to 2028, we see an increase in job opportunities within digital media and entertainment. So it's expected to grow 25% with 7,000 new jobs per year, which is great. That means there's a lot of opportunity for you guys. Next slide, Mariana. I wanted to put this slide in here so you guys can see the average educational attainment for the field. As you can see, digital media entertainments are attainable with 64% workers having some college, an associate's degree or less. So as you can see, the majority of people in this industry have some college or less. So that can mean you have an associate's degree, which is usually a 2-year college, and then or less. Of course, if you want to go into the higher roles, you would require either a bachelor's or graduate degree. Next slide. And then here, again, we have more information of some of the companies within the LA region, within Los Angeles, that are hiring the most within digital media and entertainment. We have Disney, NBC, Rise Gordon Pictures, Riot Games, and CBS, Activision. So some of them are like video game companies, and other ones, of course, you are well known like Disney and NBC and CBS. Next slide, Mariana. And then again, here are some key takeaways. So the wages for digital media and entertainment have grown 32% since 2011. All industries pay a living wage in Los Angeles County, which is the lowest annual pay still. So which that means is these industries pay $16,000 more than the average annual salary in the county. So it's a good industry to get into because there's a lot of opportunity to make good money. And this industry is expected to grow 25% on average across digital media and entertainment. And then lastly, industries with stronger digital ties are growing more than those operating outside digital space. So pretty much, again, just want to reiterate, this is a good industry. If you're thinking of getting into, there's a lot of different occupations you can do. If that's something you haven't thought about, this is a good opportunity to ask many questions and kind of learn about the industry in itself. Pass it back to Mariana. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose, for giving us all that information. Now I'll go ahead and introduce Inez Bush, who is the Assistant Dean of Extension at Otis College of Art and Design. Inez.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. And Mariana, can I share my screen?
Of course.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so I can give you a little presentation about what I'm going to be talking about right now. Let's see. Let me just go over this and I'll share it like this. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm going to move it over here so I can see it with you. So, and are you seeing the full screen? Are you getting the whole thing?
No, it was previously. Now we can see the full screen.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, we should have tested that beforehand, but very good. So I'm from Otis College of Art and Design, as Mariana mentioned, and I'm Assistant Dean of Extension, which is Extension is the programs outside of the BFA and MFA programs. And in case you don't know, Otis College of Art and Design is located near LAX in Los Angeles, and we're one of the top schools in art and design in the nation. And we've been in existence for over 100 years. We are actually the first College of Art and Design in Los Angeles. And I always like to just share the mission because I think it's very relevant. The college educates a diverse community of over 1,200 students to become highly skilled, well-informed, and responsible professionals, empowering them to shape our world. In Extension, we have youth and adult programs, year-round classes. So we have spring, summer, and fall terms, and definitely high school and pre-college programs, everything from portfolio development through, discrete art classes, animation, drawing, et cetera, et cetera. And we also have tuition waivers for teachers and for high school students. And if you want to jot that down, that's where the policy, that little link there will show you, that's where you can get the information about how you can qualify for free classes at Otis, either on-site or online. Right now, I'm going to talk to you about some scholarship opportunities with some summer programs that are pretty exciting. SNAP Lens Lab at Otis College is for students in high school or those who are just graduated. Summer of Art is our premier college immersion program, which is for high school students and above. And then we have this brand new Netflix and Otis Entertainment Certificate program, which is for students that have a high school diploma. So if you're graduating, like by the end of June or July, you would have that. It's for 18 years and above, and that's a very robust program. I'm going to be sharing about all three, but I'm going to start with the SNAP Lens Lab, which is the one that I oversee, and I'm going to share a little bit about that. And then you'll see a little bit about Summer of Art and the Netflix program, all of which have scholarship opportunities. This year is our second annual year for the SNAP Lens Lab at Otis College, and that's actually a student in the class from last summer. It's all about augmenting your reality. So AR, I'm sure you guys have heard the terms AR and VR with Snap's Lens Studio. And while you think, well, it's just Snapchat, there's so many opportunities in careers and fields now that relate to this kind of work. This program is geared to high school students from underrepresented communities. It's 2 weeks. It's a pre-college immersion experience. It's the last 2 weeks in July, and it meets Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on the Otis campus. And there's 15 students, so it's very specialized. And all 15 students will have full scholarships to this program. And that shot right there is a shot at SNAP when they went to their headquarters here in Los Angeles. And what students would learn is how to create Snapchat lenses, also known as filters, work with augmented reality, create 2D and 3D art, and learn design skills, foundational and so creative skills as well as the technical skills, learning Maya, which is a 3D modeling program, Photoshop, Illustrator, and Lens Studio. And this is somebody's sketches from last summer. They're brainstorming for the lens that they're going to create, or the filter. It's taught by Otis expert faculty from animation and game design, those majors. SNAP team members will participate in mentoring students and aspects of Lens. It's a great way to network. Guest speakers that are graduates of Otis that are industry professionals will come and they'll share about their experiences. Field trips will include the field trip to SNAP, and then AR experiences around Los Angeles, and there are many of them. It's very interesting, and VR as well. And VR is virtual reality, AR is augmented reality. And the final presentation at the end is an opportunity to showcase your work, and it's connected with another program. So you could have like 300 or 400 people looking at your artwork at the end of the summer, which is pretty cool. So who's this for? This is for students who are curious, engaged, and passionate about their creativity, interested in learning about augmented reality, design, and learning the 3D modeling tools. and the tools of the trade, and identify as coming from underserved communities and are in somewhere in the Los Angeles area, because you have to be able to get to the campus. And no prior experience or skills are required. It's not like you have to come in knowing Photoshop. You'll learn that when you're here for this purpose. And then how to apply. If you want to grab that QR code, or I can also share this presentation with Mariana afterwards, and she can share it, disperse it to you all. There's an application, a very simple application, but my piece of advice is to think thoughtfully and thoroughly about what you're answering to those questions, because that's the determining factor. We're not looking at a portfolio or anything like that. We just want to know about you and why you're passionate about digital media, augmented reality, VR, all of those things, design, and why you should be the one of the 15 selected. And the deadline for this is May 15th. And if you take a look at the application, it's quite simple. So don't procrastinate, grab it when you can. The Summer of Art, which is our premier college immersion program during the month of July, also has scholarships. In this program, you earn college credit if you want to, up to 3 credits, 3 college BFA credits. You build your portfolio and you really do explore your creative passions. The weeks are broken up into 3 days and 2 days. 3 days are the specializations, or like your major. And you can see that they cover digital media, they cover fine art, there's photography, and design as well, of course. And then 2 days a week, you're in a drawing studio, which if you take the full 5-day program. If you're a scholarship student, you must take the 5-day program. For non-scholarship, if you're coming and you're paying for this program, you can make a choice to come 3 days or 2 days. And 2 days are really kind of deep into drawing skills, which are very important if you're going to any creative field. To articulate your ideas is really important to be able to do that. Our instructors are also professional working artists and typically award-winning designers and artists. Many of them teach an Otis BFA and MFA program. And this, in fact, is Scott Zaragoza, who's an Otis graduate, who has been teaching at Otis, also has his own career, and he produces phenomenal results with the students. So this is just a nice, you can see in the background some of the students' work. There is on-campus housing for this program. The scholarship does not include housing, but you can purchase housing if you want to. And there may be 1 or 2 scholarships where the donor has designated housing. So it's not necessarily completely out of the question. It just depends on how that happens each year. It's for students 14 and a half because it's for high school and up. So it used to be 15 and a half. I made it 14 and a half when I was running it, because I felt like if you're a freshman and you're 14 or entering freshman, you should be able to participate. 2 students per bedroom, fully furnished. This is one of the students' rooms from during the school year. And then Summer of Art scholarships. So this one's a little bit more of a hefty application. There is an application which asks you, basically information about where you're living and, just all of the basic information, contact information. Then there's a personal statement, which doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be about you and what you're saying. And then a 10-piece portfolio. So you need 5 observational drawings, which means anything that you've done from life. It could be a shoe, it could be your room, it could be a still life, and then 5 pieces of your work that you think describe you and represent you well. And transcripts, they're either unofficial or official. And the deadline is tomorrow, but it's been extended for you to April 28th in case anybody is really interested. And you can see in the photo there, that's from the final exhibition for this particular class. And you can see the still life and then the drawings that people have done behind it. The next program is the Netflix and Otis Entertainment Certificate Program. And this one is pretty exciting. It's a first for us to have this program. It's a 20-month program where the first 14 months are the certificate, the learning, and then the last 6 months are a paid apprenticeship. For this program, you have to be already out of school because it's full-time. So it's for students that are 18 and up, assuming that you have a high school diploma. You do not need a college diploma for this, but you need a high school diploma or equivalent. And it's really industry standard projects and mentorship. And it's a very robust program, fully paid tuition for all students. There'll be 18 students in this program for this first year, and then it'll grow. So if you're not a senior graduating, stay tuned. We'll be coming again. A laptop is provided with industry standard software. So we're trying to reduce the barriers for people to be able to actually move into these fields successfully. And as I mentioned, 6 months paid apprenticeship. There's professional development throughout. It's a lovely way to build your community of working professionals and industry leaders and get to know folks. And the application for this one is due April 28th. And the application for this one is not all that complicated either. So, but there are some things they want, like they want a little video of you, but you can do that from your phone. It's not like you have to do a fancy video. They want to get to know you, and they're choosing based on you. And so the eligibility is about, it's really focused on people of color to even out the playing field and to gain access for folks that may not have been able to in previous times. I mentioned the age, a U.S. citizen or individual residing in the U.S. with an F1 visa. I think if you're DACA, we already allow that without it. There's no issue there at all. So that's eligible as well. Anticipated graduation before July 2023. You have to be in the LA area because you have to be able to get here. So somewhere close enough to get here to take our classes. And then the ability to begin in September, this coming September for this program. And of course, that you possess a strong creative passion. Curriculum, it's going to be 5 terms. You'll be covering theory, technical, and design skills in specific tracks. And I just want to say this entertainment certificate is not about making movies, and it's not about making games. It's about entertainment marketing. So what it's about is doing like key art, posters for promoting films, or trailers to promote. It's about the promotion for entertainment. And that's a huge field, and there's room in that field. So it's a good way to enter. It's a good place to start from. The tracks that we have that we're offering are design, illustration, and editing. And these are all digital. You can put digital at the front end of all of that. And you'll learn Adobe Creative Cloud, the foundations of art and design, and marketing research will come into this as well. And the program will meet 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And then of course it'll be for the first 14 months. And then it'll be whatever the agreement is with the apprenticeship, but it is intended to be full-time work, and it is paid. So once you get into the apprenticeship, you'll actually be a paid employee during that period of time. And it's not working at Netflix, it's working at creative agencies that Netflix works with. So, it's actually a nice way to get your foot in the door with a potential, job placement afterwards. Not a promise, but you show up well, you do good work. And if there's an opening, they usually want it. My son did an internship. He's a graphic designer. He studied at Otis. He actually wound up being hired as a visual designer at the company that he interned with, because there was an availability when his internship ended and he graduated. And so that's everything that I had to share very quickly. That's why we're going to share the presentation afterwards. Michael, can you mute? Thank you. And then if you want to capture this, these are the leads. I'm the lead for SNAP. My colleagues, Steph is the lead for Summer of Art, and Nia is the lead for the certificate program. And I want to encourage you, if you're interested, to make the phone call or do the email, reach out, because the more people know you as you're starting to do this networking, the better chances you have. You're not just a name on a page. And so that's my little bit of advice here too, is if there's an opportunity to reach out and connect, take that opportunity to reach out and connect, because they're going to know about you, that way. And they're going to, when your name does come up on the paper, they're going to say, oh yes, I spoke to Joe, or I spoke to Juan, or I spoke to Susie, whoever it is. And they have a sense of you. So I don't know if there's time for questions, but I'm available if you have questions.
Thank you so much, Inez, for sharing such crucial information for these students. There's a lot of opportunity, as you mentioned, and thank you for sharing your son's experience. And we hear that a lot, where students start off as an intern and then are given the opportunity to work full-time at the organization that that they're interning for. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat. I'll go ahead and read some off, and the students, if you guys have more questions, please go ahead and enter them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and ask them away. So for example, we have a question from Helen. What inspired you to get into this industry? I know you have a lot of experience in the entertainment world.
Well, actually, so my background is I had a BFA in graphic design from a school back east. It was a state school. And I wound up as a graphic designer. I worked in magazines, art director for magazines that were published. And then ultimately, I started a marketing communications firm with my husband, who was on the publishing side, and I was on the design side. And we ran a marketing communications firm for over a decade. With clients like UCLA. We did the main UCLA website when websites became a thing. We did the billboards for Santa Monica, downtown Santa Monica, Third Street Promenade, many different projects. And then how I got started in this industry, which is my industry now, is arts education in higher learning, is when my kids were young, who are now 30 and 34, were in school, and being from New York, we had arts embedded and wrapped into our school experience, and there wasn't arts in our schools. And so I started out by just providing art classes very much at the local level with my kids' classes, built a program where I had 26 parents and 21 teachers, classes involved, wound up at the district level, working as a VAPA consultant to the school district, bringing in arts programs for all K through 12 students, with the commitment to high quality arts education. And then I wound up at Otis because we had a relationship with Sony, who had a relationship with Otis. And I wound up in higher ed, and that's how I wound up as assistant dean of extension. There's a couple of steps along the way, but that's the story.
Thank you so much for sharing, Inez. And we have a lot of great questions in the chat, but just to be mindful of our time, we'll go ahead and follow up with those questions. And then if you have a moment to answer them in the future, we'll go ahead and email those to you so we can get this back to the students. But thank you so much for sharing this wonderful presentation and all of these opportunities. To the students who asked your questions, thank you for your questions. We'll go ahead and follow up with the answers. But we actually have some great speakers to introduce you all to. So we'll go ahead and move on with the presentation. But thank you again, Inez. We really appreciate your time and dedication to this. Thank you. So
my pleasure.
Thank you. So next up, we have, I'd like to introduce Mario de la Torre. So Mario de la Torre is a celebrity fashion designer who has worked with artists such as Cher, Saweetie, Iggy, and he also has a gallery downtown. And then we have OG Arabian Prince, who is a founding member of Rock Hall of Fame group NWA, and he is also an entrepreneur with a lot of different initiatives, one being Innovate Next Open Labs. And we also have Mark Tomasic, who is the department chair of dance at Santa Monica College and has over 20 years of experience with internationally renowned dance companies. So we'll go ahead and give them about a minute each, and we'll start with Mario. So if you can please, Mario, unmute, and you can just give them a brief synopsis for about a minute to these students about your career and your background. And then we are going to open it up to Q&A in a few minutes.
Great. Hi, everyone. How are you? A little bit about me. My name is Mario de la Torre. I've been designing pretty much since I was a kid. And I've always enjoyed art, and I've always been in love with clothing. And so I figured, why not do something you love and make that a career? So I've been designing for about 20, 25 years or so. And yeah, it was probably the best decision I ever made in my life, because when you do something you love, it isn't work. It's more of a passion. And to get paid to do it is just a bonus. But I started off at LA Trade Tech. So for any of you that want to maybe dabble in it a little and see if it's something for you or not, Trade Tech is an amazing school to get into. and to learn just the art of fashion design and see where it takes you. For me, fashion has always been vital in just life in general. I think we're all fashion designers because every day the first thing we do is get up, get ready, and put on clothes. So technically, you're all at least stylists in your own way because everyone has their own style, everyone has their own way of dressing, and everyone, I feel, is expressing some form of art in the clothing that they wear. So for anyone that wants to do it, I strongly suggest that you try it out because it's an amazing field. And I got into it at a young age, and it's just been an amazing journeys ever since. I've been blessed to be able to work with a lot of different celebrities and with a lot of different actors, and I've worked on a couple of TV shows, a couple of movies. So you can do all kinds of things in fashion design. You don't just have to, a lot of people think that you have to create your own brand, but you can work for a fashion house. Like Pharrell Williams was just appointed to Louis Vuitton, and he was a musician, but also an artist. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to get into the fashion industry. You can do so many other things than just design alone. So anyone that's creative and that loves clothes, try it out. You might love it. You might end up making it a career. But it's been an amazing thing for me just to see the empowering part of it, because anytime you wear clothes, the way you feel is determined on what you're wearing a lot of the times, especially when you got to go to a job interview. You know, the confidence shows when you're comfortable in what you're wearing, but if you're not so sure about it, sometimes you could see it. But it's a great industry to get into. There's a lot of money in it. So for those of you that want to make some good money, designing is definitely a way to make some really good money.
Thank you, Mario, and thank you for sharing a little bit about how you got started. I know Jose put in the chat, you're referring to Los Angeles Trade Tech Community College, and we also are great advocates of the community college system because it gives you a great opportunity to, you know, as you mentioned, dabble in and find out what it is that you're looking for. So thank you for sharing, Mario. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Arabian Prince to say a few words about his upbringing and journey as well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Arabian Prince, one of the founding members of the rap group NWA. Born and raised in Compton, right down the street from Linwood. So, you know, I know the city well. But, you know, as a kid, I was blessed to have uncles, cousins, and people around me that introduced me to electronics. I'm old, you know, this was back in the 70s. They introduced me to electronics. So I can't say technology, you know, that's a new word, but they kept me off the streets, kept me into, you know, like electronics, like CB radios, ham radios, synthesizers, things like that. So, you know, I really got interested in that. My father was a radio show host. So I used to sit in the control room opposite him when he was on the radio. So I got to learn how to play with music and stuff like that. My mom was a classical pianist as well. So I had all of these influences around me, which kept my mind going. And what happened was I became a DJ. And a friend of mine, which they probably don't know about me, but they know who my friend is. My friend, Dr. Dre, and another buddy of mine, Ice Cube. You know, we all used to hang out together and DJ and do parties. And we started this group called NWA and started making music. But one thing people forget is when you make music, especially if you're not a musician, you got to use synthesizers and electronic music and drum machines to make these things. So I had to buy a computer so I could figure out how to do this. And when I got my computer, I figured out that you could code and do things. So I can make plugins, I can do all of this. So I taught myself how to code so I can make some music plugins. And then I started dabbling in animation and got really good at it. I started going to a conference way back in the day called SIGGRAPH, which is still going on today, and learning how to do 3D animation, visual effects, and things like that. And I got approached by somebody from a company called Saban, and they asked me, they were like, "Hey, you're pretty good at this stuff. You want to work on a project?" I'm like, "Okay." And it turned out to be the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I ended up doing all the visual effects on the first series of the Power Rangers, Silver Surfer, Addams Family, Casper. I worked on Independence Day. I worked on the movie Titanic, and on and on and on. And from there, I started doing video games, and I worked on, oh my God, over the last 40 years, maybe 100 video games as well. So I've gone from music and that in parallel. So that's kind of what scoped me. So for all you kids out there, whatever you got a passion for, go do it. Learn how to do it and go do it. Don't let anybody tell you no, because I'm doing it and I'm still doing it.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that information and relating how one thing brought you to another and how they can start off somewhere, but really it can expand and become their own thing as long as they continue to, work hard and try different things out. So thank you for sharing and thank you for being here today. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Mark, the Department Chair of Dance at Santa Monica College.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Mariana, for having us. Yeah, I totally just want to echo the idea that Arabian Prince mentioned of like following your dream, following what you're passionate about, and it's going to lead you in so many awesome places. So you might have this idea of, I want to be a record producer, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a fashion designer. Go for it and do it. And you might end up not being that exact same thing, but following your dream is going to take you to the destination you want to go to. So I started dancing late in life. I was 18 years old and I went to a community college, and I knew I wanted to be in the arts and do something artistic. So I started studying acting and took a dance class because someone was like, oh, you should take a dance class if you want to, be on stage and be an actor. And I took my first dance class. I had an awesome teacher. And I just fell in love with it. And I just started doing it more and more and more. And ended up getting a bachelor's degree in dance, and then was lucky enough to dance for 20 years as a professional dancer. And I danced mostly as a concert dancer, meaning I was in different dance companies. So I was in dance companies in the United States and in South America. I got to travel all over the world and perform and meet people and teach. And I'm really blessed to have had that career, which ended up leading me to teaching. And so I've been at Santa Monica College for 10 years, and we have an amazing dance department. And I just want to also point out the connectivity of the arts. So, Mario talking about fashion and Arabian Prince talking about music and technology, they're all interrelated, especially today. So you also don't have to feel that you need to be one thing. Because everything is connected. I wouldn't be able to be a dancer without fashion and without music supporting me. So it's not just one thing, especially in the times we live in now where everyone is so connected. It's multiple things. And you can have your fingers in, you can work in multiple fields as well. And I'll put my email and my department website in the chat in case anybody has any specific questions.
Thank you so much, Mark. And so we have a few questions in the chat already. So I'll go ahead and get started with some. And then Jose, if you can also jump in and ask any questions that you see in the chat. So from Oscar, we have for Arabian Prince, this question is for you. Any music software that you think students can dabble with to start out with music production?
Oh yeah, there's a lot out there. As a matter of fact, some free ones. Like a lot of the big producers now are using something called Fruity Loops. I don't personally use it, but it's free. There's a free version and there's a paid version. I use something called Propellerhead Reason, but there's Logic, there's Cubase, there's people that use a new version of Ableton Live. I mean, there's so many out there, but if you want to just get in, the free version of, like I said, Fruity Loops, or a lot of people just use their Apple phone right now. I mean, one of Kanye's producer, and he produces a lot of stuff off of his phone, and he just uses GarageBand. So it's just about the creativity, to do it. But yeah, I would say just go online and find a piece of software and just start making music.
Great, thank you so much. And for Mark, we have a question in the chat. For students in high school, what would you recommend they do now that they're in high school or as they're getting ready to graduate if they want to start off or have a career in choreography? Any recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you can do is start watching YouTube, the thing you have access to right in the palm of your hand, probably, and look at choreographers that you're attracted to, their style of movement, choreography that you really like. Reach out to them, ask them if they teach classes. You can go, a lot of choreographers are also dance teachers and dancers themselves. So finding people you like and reaching out to them, the power of asking for assistance, the power of asking a question is, I can't tell you how important that is. And ask them where they're teaching. Ask them if you could meet with them and have an informational interview with them. There's ways to connect with people that way. Also, many colleges, universities, including Santa Monica College, we offer classes in choreography. So we have, for example, 4 levels of choreography, and we offer students the opportunity to choreograph and present their work at the Broad Stage, which is an amazing theater in Santa Monica. So that would be my first suggestion. Look at classes at your local college or university, but also look at the people you like and reach out to them.
Great. Thank you so much for that advice. And we have a follow-up question for you, Mark. How do you get started with being in different companies, or which companies do you recommend to get started with?
Yeah, it's really partly the same answer. If you look online, like on YouTube, different dance companies, and if it's something that you're attracted to, contact that company, contact the artistic director, ask them if they have classes or open rehearsals that you can go to. But really, it's also about having foundational training. So it doesn't necessarily just happen. Like, you can't just say, I want to be a dancer, and then, well, you can, and everybody's a dancer. But if you want to be in a professional company, it takes a lot of work and a lot of training. If you want to be a professional musician, it takes a lot of work or training, or a fashion designer. So, you know, picking college, going to classes, taking class and studying your craft as much as you can. You know, every day as a professional dancer, I rehearsed, I got to perform, I got to travel, but every day, Monday through Friday, I took a class, an hour and a half or a 2-hour class every day, Monday through Friday, to improve my technique, to develop as an artist, to get stronger, to get more flexible, to get better at what I was doing.
Thank you so much for sharing. So we have a few questions for Mario. So Janice is asking, how did you get noticed, or what inspired you to get started into this field? And then how were you recognized? How were you able to work with celebrity?
Well, what inspired me to get into the field in general was a love for clothing. And I could never really find exactly the type of pants that I wanted. They were either too tight from the bottom. There was always something missing. So instead of me trying to find that perfect pant, I decided to create mine. And when I did that, and I saw that I could actually create what was in my mind and make it into a physical good, that just was like the light bulb that went on. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And so it started with pants. And the moment I made my first pair, I just kept practicing. And like everyone says, the more you practice, the better you get. And so that had a lot to do with it. And what inspired me really was just, I didn't see a lot of Latino designers. And I said, I want to be one of the first. I mean, there are a few, but not that I could actually talk to. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have all these different channels that we could use now to be able to directly message someone. And the way I got noticed was I started messaging people, artists, up and coming musicians, and just reached out to them and told them, like, I'm a fashion designer in LA and I would love to be able to make something for you. And I got some responses back. And now with, you know, technology, you have access to everyone. So some people say it's not professional to reach out to people on Instagram, but if you don't do it that way, there's so many gatekeepers that it makes it impossible sometimes to be able to get access to these people. So what I would do for anyone that wants to reach out to an artist, reach out to them. You never know. And you're not going to know until you try. So what I do even to this day is if I have an artist that I want to work with and I don't have access to their manager or to their stylist or to whoever, what I do is I just reach out to them directly through Instagram, and you'll be surprised how many people respond. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but that's one of the ways to do it. Another way you can do it is if you know there's going to be a record release party or if you find a way to access these people, you got to do it. Like half of the work is on you to do all your research and to figure out how to get access to these people. But Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, those are some of the ways. And if you can't really reach out to them, but you have something in mind, for example, that you want to make them, make it. And then make a little TikTok on it and say, oh, I designed this for Doja Cat. You never know. Even if she doesn't see it, one of her people might see it. And everyone these days wants to be a part of something. So if you're at the beginning phases of your journey and you have a passion for something, you're going to get the support you need. But that's one of the ways I would do it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Mario. We'll go ahead and hand it over to Jose.
Yeah, no, I have a quick question across the speakers. If you can kind of take a quick minute to kind of say what are the pros and cons of the industry, and then we can kind of jump back to some of the questions that they have from the students. So I'll start with Arabian Prince and then go for Mark and then Mario last, please.
You broke up right at the end for me. Say that again.
Yeah, no problem. So what are the pros and cons of the industry, of your career path? Would you be able to share that?
Yeah. So I have, you know, what's funny? I haven't had any cons in you know, the things that I've done, because I was just on another panel right before this one. And something that I say is, if you want to create change for yourself, for your community, for just the world in itself, you got to kind of think a little bit outside the box. So every time somebody wants to push back on you and say, you know, you shouldn't do that, or this career path is hard for you, you should think in yourself, how can I make it easy for me? How can I make it easy not only for me, but the people that come after me? So that's just my mentality. I'm like, my friends call me SpongeBob because I'm like this really, really happy guy. And you got to be happy when you make your first record when you're 16 years old, and, you know, the rest is easy. But it is, you know, I would say, I can't say it's hard. I just think that now in the future that we live in with YouTube and Google, and now I know I'm gonna say the evil word for teachers, ChatGPT, and all of these things, it makes life easier to do things and get things done. So for the kids out there, the next generation, you have so many tools to go forward in your career path. So much information from, you know, the designers and the dancers and all of these things. It's all right in front of you. So if you have questions or you say, I want to do this, go online. It's right there. And there's nothing to hold you back from that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that feedback. And again, for the students here, you know, Arabian Prince grew up in Compton, which is not too far from Linwood. So as you can see, he's an example, as well as Mario and Mark, that you guys can accomplish whatever you put yourself. You have the resources. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to pass it on to Mark to kind of quick share pros and cons of the dance industry, performing arts. Yes.
Yeah, I think pros, I agree that, you know, I always tell my students, my two top wishes for them are that they have a healthy life, right? That they have physical, mental, spiritual health. And the second top wish is that they do something that they love. And no matter if that is working in an office, being an accountant, being a dog trainer, being a dancer, being a rapper, being a fashion designer, do something that you love and you will be happy. And it's not to say that there are not challenges. There are great challenges, especially for, I think, dance in particular. It's not, their dancers are not usually the highest paid people on the scale of performers. So can be challenges financially. It's hard on your body sometimes. It takes a huge amount of mental discipline. We think of dance as like a physical discipline, which it is, but it takes a huge amount of mental and emotional discipline to be an artist. So you could say those are cons, but I would also say those are pros, because all those things make me a stronger, more versatile more loving human being.
Thank you. That's great information, Mark. And, just to touch base again on what the Arabian Prince and Mark just mentioned, a lot of us, because I grew up in a city nearby, Linwood and Compton, Paramount, growing up knowing that we ourselves don't expect that we can be in those positions. We don't dream about it. We don't have the resources for it. So here are 3 examples of, if you put your mind to it, you can be in those places like Mario, Mark, and Arabian Prince. You have the resources. So thank you so much. And lastly, I'll pass it on to Mario to add any pros and cons, and I'll give it back to my colleague, Mariana.
Well, I'd say there's so many pros. It's do we have enough time to talk about them all? But to be honest with you, I think I just got to piggyback on what everyone has said. Pursuing your passions is going to be such a beautiful journey. I mean, everybody needs to make money. So obviously you need to find ways to do that, but to be able to do something you love and get paid for it, there's a saying, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's so true, because I used to be in real estate, for example, and I made a good amount of money in real estate, but I always felt that there was something lacking. And that's because my passion has always been clothing. And I think I'm the one who convinced myself that it was going to be impossible for me, because I didn't see anyone like me doing it. I didn't come from a lot of money. I grew up first generation from South Central. I didn't know of any designers coming from South Central. And when I grew up, the times were very different. And you couldn't just get on a computer and say, hey, let me reach out to so-and-so. So I think anything you love, find a way to make a living out of it. And believe me, you're going to have such an incredible journey. But cons, I think for me, it's a lot of work. So for those of you that don't want to put in the work, fashion design requires a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort. So you got to have a strong work ethic. And I think in life in general, if you want to succeed at something, you got to put in the work. And you cannot let anyone try to convince you of why you can't do it. Because when I started this, a lot of people told me, you don't come from money, you're Latino, you're never going to make it in the industry. And all that did was add fuel to the flame of my passion. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. I'm going to do this for a living. And, when I quit real estate, everyone thought I was crazy because I was doing very well in it. But money is a vehicle. It's a vessel to get you through life. But if you're just doing things just for the financial gain, you're not really pursuing your passions. You're just doing it for materialistic things, which are great. I mean, it's great to have money, but money can't buy you happiness. Even though people say it can, I've made a lot of money doing other things, but I never found the joy or the fulfillment that I received from the moment I first got into fashion to this very day. So anyone that has a passion, that has a love for something, try it. You never know what could happen from it.
Thank you so much, Mario. And I know all 3 of you have given these students great advice to follow and pursue their dreams, regardless of what they look like and whether they have, some inspiration or not, an inspirational person that they may see themselves as. So we have about 3 more minutes before they have to go off to lunch. So again, we really appreciate everyone. And I'd just like to close off with each of you providing these students, or even, I guess the question would be, if you could give your 15, 16-year-old self some advice, what would that be in about 30 seconds? And we'll go ahead and start how we did, and we'll go with Arabian Prince first.
Wow. I would say save your money. Like when I was young, when I got my first check, I was trying to buy rims for my car. I just got a car. I was trying my hardest to buy some rims for my car. I got a $2,000 check from my first royalty check at 16 when I made my record. And God bless my mother. She's passed on, but she would not let me spend that money. She made me invest it. And I knew nothing about investments. And one of my first investments way back when was Microsoft and Apple. At the time, it was Macintosh. And oh my God, I was able to buy not only rims for my car later on, but cars and houses and other stuff. So save your money. Yeah, get your clothes, but you ain't got to go buy the fancy stuff. Don't listen to your friends. Oh, I got Chanel, I got Gucci, I got that. It's going to get stolen anyway. Go to the swap meet and get it. It's cheap.
Thank you so much for those tips. We'll go ahead on with Mark. So in 30 seconds, what would you tell your 15 or 16-year-old self?
Wow, I needed that advice when I was 15 or 16 for sure. Where were you, Arabian Prince? I needed that. I would say this is for myself, but I think it speaks to other people too. And I mentioned it earlier, is never be afraid to ask questions. And I'm kind of like a more, even though I was a performer and on stage all the time, my actual person is pretty like timid and quiet. And there's, looking back, there's so many questions that I wish I just would have asked, and it would have saved me so much time and effort and energy to go to the source and ask. And people are much more willing to help than you probably think they would be.
Thank you so much, Mark. And Mario, we'll close it off with you. So in 30 seconds, what would you give your 15 or 16-year-old self? Any tips or advice?
I would say surround yourself with like-minded people, people that are going to be your cheerleaders. Your network is your net worth. So it's really important that you surround yourself with the right people. And the biggest advice I would say is you have to believe in yourself more so than anyone else, because at the end of the day, it's you against the world, and you have to believe in yourself. You have to be your biggest advocate, your biggest cheerleader. You know, you are going to fall in life, but it's how you get up and what you do after that's going to determine how easy this journey is going to be or how hard it's going to be. And it's okay to get beat up. It's okay to get criticized for things. Not everyone is going to love everything that you do, but as long as you love it, that's the most important part.
Thank you so much, Mario. And again, thank you all, Inez, for presenting the opportunities for the students at Otis College. Arabian Prince, Mark Tomasic, and Mario de la Torre, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak to us and giving such great advice to these students. We really appreciate it. And we thank you all for taking the time. Again, to the students who had questions, we'll go ahead and save those questions if they went unanswered, and we'll follow up with some answers if possible. Thank you, everyone, and hope you enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.